bees are so important for the future of the world. Bees are probably the top of the biodiversity world itself. Without bees, at least 1/3 of the food that we put in our mouths wouldn't be here. There'd be no soft fruit. Eventually, the whole ecology would die out because the flowers would disappear. Most of the flowers depend on bees. So if the bees die out, we are in big, big trouble very fast. They're one of the fastest indicators of environmental change. If there's something wrong in the environment, the first thing that will happen is your bees will disappear. Pesticides are wiping the bees out. We shouldn't need them if we had proper biodiversity. Planting lots and lots of wildflowers. Try and leave a little area of your garden. As you can see out here, I have an area of the corner of the garden which is completely weeds. It's all those kind of things like nettles, all the things that which you think of as weeds, which are actually wildflowers. The early spring when they first emerge, they depend on the pollen from willow trees an awful lot, and hazel. Flowers which you don't even notice are so insignificant sustain our bee population. So if you can, the best thing is to leave a little wild corner of the garden. It's brilliant for butterflies as well. The flowers which we cultivate in our gardens are as general no use at all to the bees, because they're double flowers, they're sterile, they're not producing the pollen or nectar. They look pretty to us, but the bees, they're just a barren desert. Most important time of the year is when the bees emerge, and that can be early spring, and it depends on the weather. And what they need then is for people to have the likes of spring bulbs like crocuses and sedums, all those early flowering plants in their garden. If they can plant as much of those as they can, so as the bees, when they do come out, it'll be, first of all, it'll be the queen bees. And in the wild bumblebee world, it'll be the queen bees, huge big bees. You'll notice them bumbling about on a warm day, and it's vital that they get a good supply of nectar and honey to lay their eggs. So if they can get a good supply of nectar, then we're off to a good start. Now during the summer, of course, the gardens are completely full of bees, and they will survive into, lately with the warmer winters, they've been flying about in October, even into November. So if you want to make your garden perfect for bees, think of them in two lots. Think of the wild bumblebees and think of the honeybees. You don't really need to do anything too much for the honeybees apart from plant the right plants. For the bumblebees in your wild area, if you can sort of leave a bit of a bank, because bumblebees love to go in underground, miner bees and all sorts. If you can provide that kind of area for them to live in and plant lots of the native wild species. The honeybees, on the other hand, they just love the flowers. They'll always be returning to their hive, wherever that is. The secret is put plenty of native plants into that area if you can. Last year, everybody was probably noticed when you were driving along the motorways, the central verges, the verges weren't cut, they were left to go to seed. There's pretty little orchid-like flowers, lady smock everywhere, dandelions. Place was coming down with dandelions. The purpose of that was to feed bees. It was a thing called No Cut May, and we'd like to encourage everybody to do that. Don't cut the lawn. Keep it a few inches longer. Go out and deadhead the dandelions for a few weeks. Give the bees food. Give them a chance. If you're frightened of bees, you certainly, if you don't annoy a honeybee, the bee will not touch you. A bee can only sting you once, and it knows if it stings you, it will die. A wasp can sting you over and over again. A honeybee can't. So don't please annoy a honeybee. It will not touch you. I'll show you in a moment or two that you can actually walk up to one of my hives and have honeybees on your fingers, and they won't do anything at all to you unless you attack them. Did you know that the average bee can fly at 15 miles an hour? Now, can you run at 15 miles an hour? If you can't, don't kick a beehive. If you find a bumblebee or a honeybee, you'll know a bee because there are plenty of insects which are mimics. They're the same coloration, same sort of size and shape, but the bee always has two lovely antennae on its head. Another little interesting fact is that those antennae actually are their tongues. They have about 300 taste receptors in those antennae. So a bee, when you look at it, it's actually got its tongue sticking on the top of its head. Its tongue stick out all the time. So if you find a tired out bee on the ground, pick it up on a little piece of paper, give it white sugar and water. Don't ever give it brown sugar. Give it a little bit of honey if you have some, but white sugar and water just in the mix to revive it. It'll take off again in no time at all. They recover very quickly and be back to its hive. You'll have done the world a big, big favour.